the key to growth in a short amount of time is relationships, and keeping those relationships and keeping those open at the right time with the right people.
Welcome everyone to the Kingdom REI podcast. This is your host, Ellis Hammond, and this is the show to really inspire and equip kingdom leaders who are serious about advancing God's kingdom through life, business, and real estate. And we have an incredible episode, two amazing guests. I would say this is the quintessential episode if you are looking to be a power couple. Like if you are in business with your spouse, or you want to be in business with your spouse, or that's something you aspire to, this episode is going to literally rock your socks off. Did I say that right? Is it knock your socks off, or whatever the case is? This episode is going to be awesome. We have Gaby and Garrett Hawk with us today. If you haven't heard of them, you're about to be amazed at their story and what they've accomplished in the last 3 years. Just real quick, they have bought and sold over 1,200 units in the last 3 years. They own a company called Hawk Property Holdings. They own and operate affordable housing in the Midwest, and just an incredible story. And so without further ado, let me introduce Garrett and Gaby to you. How are you guys?
Good, very good.
How you doing, Alice?
Good, man. Good. So let's start with Gaby. So Garrett, I know you, brother, because we've been in the Kingdom REI Mastermind together for just now about 15 months and have loved getting to know you and watching your journey and just seeing you grow. But you always, every time I talk to you, you're like, really, it really is Gaby. So the reason I brought you on today, man, is just really to speak to Gaby. So let's start with her. Gaby, tell us, but let's not, I don't want to get the whole episode, but just a quick introduction. Is this your first podcast show, by the way?
Yes, it is the first podcast. Yeah, the first one.
So tell us a little bit. Yeah. Talk to us. Where are you from? How'd you meet Garrett? What's your role? Tell us a little bit.
Yeah. So I came to United States in 2014 in a volleyball scholarship. I didn't speak any English then, so that was a little bit hard in the beginning, and I didn't know anybody, so that was also hard. But, God walked with me through it all, and then, gave me strength through all that. So in 2016, I transferred for Division II Northwest Volleyball program, where I met Garrett. I was an intern at the church where his dad was the pastor at. So then we got to know each other. We were best friends for a good amount of time.
Let me start real quick. Let me ask a question here. So, if you guys aren't, you could probably watch this on YouTube eventually. Gaby, you came from Brazil. Beautiful woman you are. You moved to the Midwest. You play volleyball, and then you meet a good Midwestern boy like Garrett. I mean, talk to me about the motivation of, like, what were you thinking in terms of, you moved? It's got to be so different from Brazil. I mean, what was the pull, one, to come here? And then, I mean, I love Garrett to death, but it's different from Brazil. I mean, he's a Midwestern boy. The culture is a little bit different. So what was the pull, the draw? Let's talk about that real quick.
Well, first we were friends, and then I can say that he became my best friend. But it was, I think my main thing is not just about where you're from or, what is your background. It's just more like your vision and what you want for yourself in the future and your heart for God. And I think the main thing for me was like his heart for God, that he put God before anything else. And I knew that he would put God before me. And that was the most important thing for me, because I'll put anybody, I'll put God before anybody. So I think the main thing for me was, it was the key for me, was that he would put God before anything. So
I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's how. And mostly because his dad, friend. He was my pastor. He is my pastor, but he was my pastor at the time. His mom too, and we're good friends. And they really
They encouraged the
They really
relationship.
encouraged the relationship. Yeah, it was
So they
out
were
nice.
they were the matchmakers. They were the matchmakers. Hey, Gabby, in terms of I mean, when you met Garrett, you know, he didn't have much. He was a pastor's kid, and he didn't have 1,200 units of real estate. In terms of vision, though, in terms of where you thought you guys might be able to go together, what did you see in Garrett then when he didn't have much?
I think mostly like from other people I met, it's just that he had the goal, and I had the same goal, like to grow, you know, to be something more than we were at the time, and we're more than somebody would, you know, put the tips in. And I think that my main thing was that he worked hard for what he wanted, and I didn't care what I look on a relationship on a man for my life is that we would walk together. And my main thing was like I didn't want to walk towards something that my husband wouldn't. And when I met Garrett, he's this white American boy that that was
You said it, not me.
was hardworking and had all these dreams and goals, and that really inspired me because that's what I looked for myself, and that's what I wanted for myself. Like I came to the United States not knowing anything. I knew I want something big for me. And I was not, you know, afraid to work hard towards it. And Garrett was the same way. So I think that was a big thing for me.
Last thing for you, Gabby. Well, last thing in this regard. Tell me, and I want to, and then we'll get into the episode. We haven't even gotten to the episode yet, folks. This is amazing. Like this is already a better start than I had even planned for. Garrett, you haven't even spoken yet. I didn't think about how good the show is so far. Gabby, tell us a little bit, just because I am so curious about you, because I want people to understand who you are too, because knowing you both and knowing what you guys have built, there's such an incredible collaboration here. And you really are a power couple, and you're a pillar in and of yourself. Tell us kind of what you came from in Brazil. What was home like? What was family like? You know, is there a middle class in Brazil? Is there an upper class? And where does your family fall in?
So Brazil has all the classes. I feel like it's just opportunity is not there as much as the United States. So if you want to grow in the United States, there is a easier path than in Brazil. Brazil is just not that easy. You can work hard as much as you want, and that path might never be there, you know. So I think the difference between there and here, I think is just like that part where if you want work towards something, you can get accomplished here. Where in Brazil, it's like you're gonna work towards something and you might get accomplished. And it's just like, so for me, like growing up, like what you asked, I grew up, my family was poor. It was very difficult childhood. Where both of my parents got unemployed at the same time, and I think I was 2 or 3 years old, and I had 2 older siblings, which is just 3 years apart. So it's just like it was very difficult, like, you know, sharing food, and it was just everything was very hard. And so when I became a teenager, like 10 years old, 10 years old, my mom decided to go to college, you know, and it was already hard. But she said, well, if you want to do something for our lives, either your dad or myself has to go. So she decided to go. She took that for herself. So most of that part, I didn't even see my mom most of the time. My dad worked during the whole night and took care of us during the day. And your mom
went to school so your dad could keep working and make yes, some money, correct, so that she could do. That's awesome.
So my mom was also working at the time. She worked in 2 schools, and she was studying during the night. So it was like, so I think like for me, sitting back and looking at that, it could go both ways, you know, where I see a lot of people just getting like, okay, that's the life I'm gonna have for the rest of my life, where my parents just were like, no, if you want something, you can fight for it, and you just have to take the courage, you're gonna have to leave some things behind and then to make it better. So I feel like for me, it was a good example, and for my brother, my sister as well, just like looking at that and seeing how hard they were working to just trying to give us something better. So I feel like on that note, it's just like it was a lot of trials, I would say, like that. But my parents never lose their faith. My mom said it's just a time, God's providing. We just have to keep working. God's providing. Even when like we didn't have food on the table, they both would say like, God's providing. She's just gonna take care of us. And so when I start working with I was 18 at the time, and after that, before I start working, we went through some things with my mom. Cancer. My mom had cancer when I was 16. That was hard too on the family, because that was the point where we were just starting to get, like financially better after my mom graduated and everything. She was being paid more, and my dad was able to work in the better hours where he would make more money as well. But it was just and then we were just hit again with the cancer in the family. So that was difficult, but made us grow so much as a family and as individuals. And I feel like after that, God just start, making better. I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was just like, it's crazy how you can go through the battles for years, and then in 5 years, God changed our whole lives, like literally change everything. And I think that's the main point. I think our parents always taught us, even though we went through all that, our parents always taught us like to fight, and like, you can't do better, you should do better, because I did all this for you guys to be successful. So I think it's just more the mentality than anything, and they grew that up on us.
Gaby, I'm so grateful that you shared that, and I'm glad we pulled that out of you and your story today, because like you said, when you come from Brazil, and it doesn't seem like you were, you weren't in the slums or the streets of Brazil, but you still have this context or this framework when you come to America of like, there's more that can be achieved. And it is a privilege that we have the opportunity to accomplish, and to think about what had to be sacrificed, like your mom going to college when you were a teenager. Most people never have to see that here in the States, right? And so I just, I want, and I love that, because I hope it's inspiring people, like, and I hope this podcast, and I think so much in the world of faith and religion, Christianity, is that we stifle ambition in the name of God, which I think is actually just so, it's just wrong, because, and I think it's more of a cultural thing than a religious thing, because it was your mom's faith, actually, in her belief in God, that, hey, we can have more, we can accomplish more, we can do more, we can have a bigger impact. And what you guys have accomplished here, and not just purchasing 1,200 units, but I know, and we're going to get into this today, the lives that you've impacted along the way, and the lives that you're going to impact in the future, are a result now of what your mom did in going to college when she was a teenager. And so I appreciate that so much. And yeah, so we honor your mom today as well. So really awesome to hear. Well, hey, golly. All right. Good show, guys. Thanks for joining, Garrett. I want to do this. I want us to stop and pray real quick. I always pray on the show. And so let me pray and get into the episode. Isn't that hilarious? So let me just start. God, we thank you. I'm just so pumped for this show and what this is going to do in the lives and hearts and minds of those who are listening, and my heart and mind as well. And so just pray that we would be able to glean the wisdom, the knowledge, the inspiration from Gaby and Garrett and their story, and just even the work, just hearing this, the foundation that was built in them even before they launched this business. God, would it challenge, would it create ambition and passion and dreams in all who are listening to accomplish more for the sake of your kingdom. And I pray that in Christ's name. Amen. All right. So Garrett, I got a question for you finally. Okay. We'll let you speak. Is it okay, Gaby, if Garrett joins the show now? So, all right, we got a lot to talk about, but I do want to start with a good story here because it's somehow you got a McLaren at the same time you bought an apartment building. Let's start there, and then we can work backwards. How you got a McLaren? Anybody doesn't know what a McLaren? It's a very nice luxury performance vehicle. Tell us this story.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because we have a couple of really, really great friends we've also done a lot of business with, and one of us one particular relationship, and he's a car collector. He has like 200 and some cars that he owns.
Wow.
He's very wealthy, very generous guy. But anyway, he was a real estate lender, and there was a property he brought up to me. He said his borrower was in default, and this guy who was in default had a McLaren, and he had traded the McLaren for mortgage payments. And so this guy, he does deals, he works things out, and I just dropped a hint to Gabby one day. I was like, wouldn't it be cool? Because
It wasn't just a hint; it was a whole hint.
it wasn't a hint. It was, what if we could do this? And so anyway, it was a 34, 38 unit apartment building. I can't remember. And so I just said, like, he was going to let us just come in and take over the mortgage. So I mentioned it to Gabby. I just said, hey, what if we somehow got him to include the McLaren with the property, and we just signed on the dotted line and got both? And she's like, no, you don't need that car. You don't need this property. We have other properties we're working on. And so I just kind of gave up on it. And then I left on a business trip for like 3 days, and I came back, and Gabby got it all on video. She surprised me with the car, and she went behind my back, negotiated, worked out that deal. And so she bought the McLaren for $1, as it says.
Wow.
And we got the property as well. So it was pretty cool. She did a great job.
That's awesome. Gabby, what switch in your did you always think that what switched for you from no, you don't need it, till surprising him with it?
Well, yeah. So it was a great deal. The way Garrett presented before, I was like, we don't need this car. Like, it's just not, no. And he brought up the hint more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. Anyway, so I was just like, we don't need this. It's a very expensive car. This new property, we're working on other things. We got so much going on right now. But the way he presented is just like put the car with the mortgage. And I kept thinking about that. I said, well, if it's that way, maybe we can work something out. So then, I was on that deal for like over a month, talking to our friend and the lender, and then just trying to figure out a way. He was very patient with me, because it was just like, because this part of our business, like the investment part, Garrett takes care of. And so he was very patient with me, just answering all my questions and everything I had to go through. Then, yeah. And then
she got it. She landed it. I love it. So Garrett, let's go back for both of you. Garrett, before you met Gabby, and because I want to understand a couple of things about your business, this relationship. I think a lot of people, just your journey, your story is gonna be really good, but also just kind of how you've grown fast. I mean, that's what I want to try and glean out of you, and how working together and what you have come together on has accelerated this path. So 3 years ago, where were you in terms of your portfolio and your business, and even like, what did you even expect to build at that point?
Right. So I was kind of an overworked entrepreneur, if you want to say that. I had a lot of things going on, but I wasn't doing a whole lot of them well. I think I had about 50 doors, maybe 51 doors, trying to self-manage with a few guys, part-time employees. And then I guess I had just bought a 76 unit right before we got married with a partner. And so that's what we were at. But I just disorganized. I was all over the place, and I just didn't have a dependable system. It's just not my personality. And so when Gabby came in, it was literally, I said, okay, here's a book. And the book was How to Manage Rental Property. It's like a Bigger Pockets book. I was like, read this, do everything that it says, and just ignore me if I tell you to do something different. And so that's what she did. I just was like, I mean, we battled on a few things, but she's just like, no, you said everything in this book. I'm like, you're right, I said that. So it was not like something that I was not wanting to let go of. I was more than willing, just because she was highly capable and much more efficient at it than I was. So Gabby just really just put the systems and the base and everything together, which was kind of a system. And then that was like the foundation that we could build the business on top of. And it was good just because I got to focus on the things that I was good at, and then Gabby got to focus on what she was good at.
So Garrett, which were what? I love that, because I'm reading this book right now. I highly recommend anyone who's listening. Who Not How by Dan Sullivan.
Okay.
This idea of like, it's like what you were trying to do. Let me just figure out how to do all of this. When in reality, we could probably grow and scale a lot faster if we just figure out the who, to really do that. And so it sounds like you really found the who in your partner, Gabby, here. So my question is, when you found that who, which was Gabby, what did that free you up to do that you feel like has been clearly just an igniter in terms of scaling your portfolio? I mean, what is your superpower, and what did that unleash in you?
For me, it was just, I really thrive on the relationships and kind of the chase. So the relationships with the investors, I went out, we got about, we JV all of our deals. We do joint ventures. We don't do any syndications. So a lot of our guys are just middle-class guys, friends, family, people I've met in our real estate meetups. And we just met those, and I've just built and formed those relationships. And then from there, I was just able to go after and chase deals and work out financing and all this, just kind of put all the rest of the pieces together. So that was me. It was just kind of, I got to go hunt, and I got to find people to come along with me and figure out the how as I went. So
yeah, I love that. So in terms of systems, processes, Gabby, you came in, because I think there's probably a lot of people listening that are where Garrett was when you came in, before you came in, and overworked entrepreneur, trying to do it all, not great systems, have a vision for wanting to grow their portfolio, but not really sure how. I mean, what were the things early on that you saw as key activities to help you guys get past the sole entrepreneur way of doing things?
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
on the street.
Yeah, sorry. I think the main thing was just like the process of everything. Garrett had like everything all over the place, and that was, and I am very like, okay, this needs to be this way and this way and this way. And then that was, I think the main key was just like getting everything together, knowing where things are, because sometimes you have papers all over the place for the same thing, and then just like organizing everything and then making sure that we have an operating system where I could oversee everything just in front of me, not having to go everywhere. So then that's when we decided that we needed a software, and we acquired the Upfolio, where we put most of our things in, and now we have we made an office also where I have all the paperwork if we need to go back to everything. And I think it mainly is just the operating and making sure every detail is there.
Yeah. And Gabby's really good at delegating and we've got close to about 30 employees now. And so Gabby's just able to really good, just divide responsibility and delegate. And then as we grow, we've just been able to take on more and put responsibilities in certain areas. So.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was like just us. So then we tried to make everything put in a system. But then if we wanted to grow, and for us to be able to grow, we needed to bring more people in. That's when.
Let me ask you that question because I think a lot, and this is for me too. I mean, we're trying to hire like crazy right now because I feel like this is click for me, but I struggled for so long on, I just wasn't sure if the pay, it's like you're early entrepreneur where things are tight, it's not like you're making a lot of money yet. What was like that decision process for you in saying, hey, we need to hire more people to grow, to be able to make more money, to, you know what I mean? But like, what was that the case for you as well, where when you started hiring, things were still tight, or did you create a bunch of margin and then start hiring people? What was your process for that?
No, it was very tight when we started. Very tight, actually. But what I made, it was just like going to the things that we were spending more money and see if we could decrease that somehow. For example, going to Home Depot, I did not allow the maintenance guy to go to Home Depot. I went to Home Depot and I got in a way like it would be cheaper, even like saving $5 at the time, it would save us somehow to be able to grow more. It's just like these little details that I made sure, like in the beginning, I was working crazy hours because I was on everybody's schedules besides mine to make sure that we were saving that money to be able to, bring more people and grow somehow. So I think the details is the most important part of it.
Right.
Just like dedicating your time to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's so helpful. I mean, because it just goes back to that who principle of, where we don't realize how much time or how much just even thinking about the bottom line, like how much money we're actually losing because we're not freed up for the earning potential of that time, right? Like we don't think about the earning potential of our time, and so we trade that for doing things that we could probably hire for 15, $20 an hour, and for a lot of entrepreneurs even less, and so I just think that's a key principle that you're at 30 employees now. Garrett, did you ever think that you'd have 30 employees in your business? Was that
I think my previous business I was in at it was gas stations, and the employees are one of my main stressors. And so having 30 employees now, me managing 30 employees would stress me out, but Gabby running 30 employees is so much easier. So it's all right.
So I want to go back to the 1,200 units, and I want to ask you a couple leadership questions before we wrap up here. I mean, how you haven't syndicated anything, so everything's been a joint venture. And for those who are listening, syndication and joint venturing. Syndication is a way of pooling investor capital and putting them on a limited partnership side, where you are operating and owning the deal as a general partner. Where a joint venture is kind of everyone has equal ownership, equal risk, responsibility in terms of taking down deals. So 1,200 units in 3 years, that's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, how many transactions is that? And then like, what is the process of, if someone wants to replicate your success, how do you do it? And would you recommend someone to replicate the way you've done it? I'm curious.
Sure. So I'd say, first and foremost, I really think the key to growth in a short amount of time is relationships, and keeping those relationships and keeping those open at the right time with the right people. We've had, like I said, we've had bought and sold 1,200 units, and I'd say half of that has come from one relationship. And so just just where we're at in our business, where we liquidated probably 90% of our portfolio last year and then repurchased with different ones. And that was just a transition where we saw for us that we had to make was just, okay, this is an opportunity with this relationship. Just when we were selling them at, a lot of our cap rates that we were at, like at 12 and 13 cap rates on our portfolio, we were able to sell them at 6.5s and 7s with a seller. And so our relationship to sell that was, we had to keep that open, keep that relationship there, make sure that relationship is taken care of. And then on the buy side, it was that same friend that we bought the car through. Just keeping that relationship open and willing and able and just flexible, and then just doing whatever we can to make sure that those are taken care of. And then the third one is our partners. We put our partners' interest before our own. And so, we don't take it lightly that they've entrusted, because we don't have extremely wealthy people as our partners. A lot of them are middle class or trying to retire. And so we're just helping them really achieve wealth. And we take that as a really high responsibility. So as far as that goes, if you have a good solid base of trust on your buyers, your sellers, and your partners, I mean, you can really keep that relationship intact to make sure that you're always giving more than you're taking. That will really, I'd say, help you grow in a short amount of time. So
yeah. And so a lot of this, just from a more I don't want to call it strategic, but more operation standpoint, a lot of this was like, I mean, you would buy low. I mean, buy at a higher cap rate, so sell at a lower cap rate. So say you bought it for 4, you're selling it at 8, and then you would just 1031 that into a bigger deal. Is that kind of the accumulation of that and doing that a couple times a year?
Yeah, we did that. I don't know how many transactions we did last year. We were in the middle of a bunch of transactions right now, but it's all in that same, we're selling, lining it up, 1031 within a couple of weeks right after. So that's really what we're doing right now.
Let me ask you this, Garrett, because we're looking at some deals together. We chatted about this. I mean, most folks trying to get in the world of real estate right now, that's a hard strategy to follow because now you're buying in a 6 cap. And in most markets, those probably will never be a 3 cap market. I mean, if they are, I'm not saying they won't be, but it'd be really interesting, right? If the Midwest is ever at a 3 cap in terms of a multifamily product. So what are the creative strategies you're looking at? Like, do interested? Can I say, I mean, you can share where, the current update of your portfolio if you'd like, but regardless, what is the next play? I mean, what is that for you now that you're in a lot of ways kind of where you are with your portfolio?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the next step? Like, how do you replay this, right? Or what are the opportunities you're looking for next? I mean, it's a lot harder to imitate what you guys have done. And not saying it's impossible, but in most markets, again, you bought at 13, you're selling at 6, even in your own current market. Mm-hmm. So, if you were to try and replay or imitate your success again, I mean, what type of opportunities are you looking for next, just from an investment standpoint?
Yeah, so I think what we're seeing is just nationwide this incredible need for affordable housing, rising construction costs, and plus population growth and people not able to buy homes. It's just showing this huge need. So what we're focusing, we really kind of stumbled into it, to be honest, is we're buying more of these extended stay hotels and making the multifamily conversion. Mm-hmm. So, I think we have between what we own and what we have under contract, it's about 500 or 600 doors that we're in the process going through the portfolio and making the multifamily conversion. And so that's just the opportunity that we see, just because it's a new type of I should say the renovations that we've gone through has really been eye-opening, just trying to figure out how to make it work. But also it's just been realizing the need for that in the markets that we're in. So yeah, that's great. That's specifically what we've kind of buttoned down on, and we aren't buying any traditional multifamily properties just because we can't find anything we want to that makes sense. So
I mean, I just wrote an article and there's some huge demand, right? I mean, this incredible in most cities, and then with, as these places get more expensive, the only way to really make it work from an investment standpoint is to renovate and raise rent. So like the demand, the need for just your lower to even middle class there's a huge demand for, places where people can still rent for $1,000 or $900, right? I mean, that's getting really hard. So I love that opportunity. Well, let me ask you just a couple more questions in terms of, you talked about team and growing a team of 30, and we've chatted about this before, but I think, what does it take in terms of leadership development, both from, personally, and then thinking about that to the people that you employ? What does that take? I mean, clearly you're not the same person you were when it was just you and your part-time person, to now 30 people. Maybe you both can speak first on what does that take for you personally to become a leader of 30 people? And then what are you doing to really help develop the leaders underneath you?
Can we start?
You.
Okay. Well, I think a lot of it is just making the people, our general managers at each property or property managers, making them feel this sense of ownership. And so, we incentivize them with their pay structures based on revenue and percentage of ownership as well. Just for bonuses and things like that. But starting to, you as the owners of the company, as the CEOs, we are not the person that's supposed to solve every general manager's problem. We are not the ones that are supposed to, be the one that everything kind of gets dumped on. What we do is, we have this conversation, we speak to them, our general managers regularly. So this is your property, this is your responsibility. And we don't do that in a fearful way. We do that and say this is an opportunistic way, because what we're doing is, for example, we're buying the worst. I shouldn't say the worst. We're buying some very high crime, low income properties. For example, we just purchased a 130 some unit property that functioned as a hotel, not about an hour from where we live, and it was high crime score. Local cops wouldn't show up there on a 911 call unless it was an hour wait, and they definitely wouldn't go there alone at night. And so what we saw is we just saw this as the opportunity, because everybody kind of giving it up. But if we come in, we talk to our managers and our employees, and we kind of cast the vision for what we want to do with the place. Say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to provide you all the tools necessary to do this, and then what we've done is gone in, just cleaned up the area, cleaned up, the criminal activity, higher security, do these renovations, take pride in the property. And now that managers are saying, well, okay, I have a role in this, and in return, they're getting positive feedback from the tenants. And so now they're saying, the tenants, are just coming to them overjoyed, said, I've never been able to sit out on my patio at night, just because I was afraid to leave my unit. And so once we kind of include them in this process of, this is where we're going, we cast the vision, then we become an equipper of leaders rather than just a leader or a doer. And so once we have those things and we put those things in place, and the owners or the managers gain that sense of responsibility, then that just allows the whole team to grow and to have an optimistic outlook on what the future is going to be on each individual property that they're on. So
yeah, that's great. Gabby, what would you add just in terms of leading others, leading a team?
He basically said everything. I think yeah, he basically said everything. But I think one of the main things is that any employer, they don't want just employees. They might think they do, but they don't. You want leaders on your team, because if you have leaders, like he said, like, you want them to take pride on your properties, and you want them to feel like, okay, like he said, I have a sense of ownership here, that if this property is succeeding, I'm succeeding. I think one of the main things that I learned throughout all this is that they need to be encouraged. They need to be, valued. They need to feel valued. So yeah. I feel like one of the things that I learned is just like, be available for them, whenever they need a phone call or something. But when they call you, you make them thinking that they are making the whole decision. I think that's the main thing that I think, like, but what you think? I already have my opinion, what, how needs to be solved the problem, but I want them to brainstorm it and, take that as like, no, I made the decision. I called her, but who made the decision after all was me. So just like when they called me, I said, but what do you think should be done? Like, how do you feel this should be, should be perceived, or things like that. So they go and they already know. They're just afraid to make that decision.
Yeah.
So you just have to give them, the wings to go and fly. Literally, that's it. You just have to give them the okay, like, okay, no, you can make that decision. It's your decision to make. And I agree with you. So,
I
it's
think
just
that's
like,
excellent. Yeah. That question of, and I think that's such a powerful leadership principle in terms of leading others, is that question of, before you answer, just ask, what do you think? You know what I mean? Like that little tip right there is so golden in terms of leading others, that I think that's an excellent point to echo for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett, I want to ask you just last question, man. You've been part of the Kingdom REI Mastermind. Just to speak to that, a lot of folks listening to this are in the world of real estate. Being part of this mastermind in general, and not just in a community, but especially one that really does prioritize Christ at the center. Will you speak just a few words to our community for those who maybe are listening and thinking about joining?
I think I think what you said at the beginning, where it's not just countercultural, it's counter-church cultural in some ways, of the ways that a lot of churches or communities that we've been involved in. I know there's for me, I kind of growing up kind of felt like the odd man out. And in some things, like I was, business minded, but also had a heart for the kingdom. And, if you're striving to make profits, if you're striving to succeed, you have to realize, for us, God has equipped us and we play this part in the kingdom because our goal is generosity. And so once you get to be around other guys who have championed that role, championed their purpose in the kingdom, you get to really just collaborate, and you get to, honestly just be creative, see what are the ways that we've been gifted that we can grow and expand. And then I would just say the access to people and just the conversations and their insight of how they've grown businesses just in our advisors board has just been second to none, as far as hearing their advice and then having it from that kingdom perspective has really just been, really been incredible. So it's been life-changing, I know, for our business too. So.
Yeah, I love hearing that, man. Well, listen, this has been such a fun episode. I so grateful that you both made the time. We're going to be together in a couple of weeks down in Florida. I'm excited about that, and to chat more and to hang. So thank you both. Any final words, closing thoughts before we get out of here? Just maybe in terms of, working together, or just even for kingdom community that's really trying to, both be ambitious for the kingdom and in their business. Any closing thoughts?
For me, it's just as someone, if you have a business and you have a relationship with Christ, God cares deeply about your business, and he cares deeply about every facet of your business. And so for us, that's something that I would just recommend people, and I have a small group of guys that I mentor. I say, pray over your business daily, ask for God to reveal things that you could be doing better, but make sure that you are continually seeking him and seeking his guidance on a daily basis, because he wants you to succeed. So
on that note, I would say, pray over your business, over your employees. If you have any employees, we pray daily on our employees, like God bless their families, bless, the mindset and the goals, everything based on, because your employees is now part of your family, is now part of your future, or what you dream for your life. So I always pray for your employees. And on that note, for me and Garrett, it's just like pray over your marriage. If you are a couple that trying to do this, because when you start to succeed, people start looking at you differently. Just make sure that the relationship of a couple is there, and not just like business-like, but take the time to be husband and wife, take time to, to be partners in life, not only in business. So I think I'll leave that.
Such a good word. That's such a good word. Wow. Garrett, I think you need to let Gaby be the face a little bit more, man. I think she's got a powerful story, man.
For sure. You got to. Better looking face than mine.
Yeah, I mean, she's got the face, and she's got a story too, man. That we should chat about how to leverage that more. You guys are such you're both powerful in your own rights, and I know that it's incredible how much success you've already had, but I got a really good feeling we've only seen the beginning. There's a lot that I hope that I can be a part of, and even just get to watch over the next decade or two. So, hey, I'm so grateful. Kingdom Community, go be great. We'll see you next week. Cheers.